Right before their eyes, the web-covered corpses suddenly started shaking violently. A moment later, a massive spider monster lumbered out of the dense woods. It was almost the size of a mountain. They watched in horror as it plucked the bodies from the trees to devour them. Truong An, Fifi, and Thu Sin were completely stunned. Just then, the monster spotted the three uninvited humans. Facing this colossal beast, even someone as calm as Truong An couldn't stop his hands from shaking. In the book, it was just described as a massive spider, but seeing it for real, Truong An realized his iron sword was nothing more than a toothpick against this giant. But they were already here. Turning back now would just be pathetic. He had to take the risk. As Truong An raised his sword, the spider simply swatted him with one leg. Asterisk. Crash. Asterisk. Truong An was sent flying into a boulder, shattering it on impact. He immediately had a change of heart. Okay, we came, we saw. Holy crap, what are you two still standing there for? Fastest one lives, and with that, the three of them booked it, with the spider monster hot on their heels. This spider was smart. As it chased them, it ripped out a chunk of earth and hurled it at them. Seeing the danger, Truong An had no choice but to stop and shatter it with his sword. The power gap was immense. Just blocking the attack was enough to make Truong An cough up blood. Despite spitting up blood, Truong An said confidently, "Well, Lady Weaver's welcome is certainly a warm one. In that case, I, Xuan Xiao, will see this through." The monster attacked again, its massive leg tearing up the ground. Thu Sin and Fifi scrambled to dodge. Seizing the opportunity, Truong An leaped onto a nearby tree, then successfully climbed onto the monster's head. He pulled out a talisman and began enchanting his sword. He leaped up, then brought his sword down with all his might. With a sickening thwack, he sliced clean through one of its legs. Green blood sprayed everywhere as the monster let out a pained shriek. Having lost a leg, the beast lost its balance and toppled over, accidentally exposing its soft underbelly right in front of Truong An. How can I pass up a target served on a silver platter? He immediately unleashed his demon-slaying slash, striking the monster's belly. The spider's shriek echoed through the forest once more. It was clear that Truong An's last hit really hurt. The attack drove the monster insane. It leaped high into the air with its remaining 7 legs, crashing down right where Truong An stood. He dodged left and right, desperately avoiding the legs slamming down from above. Meanwhile, his 2 teammates were only good for commentary. Whoa, look at him. It's just like the battles my father described. This stinky Taoist is actually pretty badass. Truong An yelled at them, "Are you going to run or what? Keep babbling and you'll end up as spider food." Behind them, the spider continued to roar in absolute fury. Truong An told the others, "I'll lead it away. You two run in the opposite direction." He whistled, "Bet you can't catch me, you stupid spider." And with that, they split up. Truong An ran in one direction to draw the monster after him, giving Fi and Thu Sin a chance to escape. But even so, 2 legs were no match for the giant monster's 7. After running a short distance, Truong An drew his sword again, channeling his demon-slaying power until the blade glowed. "Die, you ugly beast." With that, he hurled the sword at the chasing monster. It struck true, plunging straight into its eye. The monster was blinded. It went completely berserk, wildly slamming its legs on the ground. But just then, Truong An's body finally began to give out. He'd likely overused his demon-slaying art. Just as a spider leg was about to crush him, a rope shot out from nowhere, pulling him out of harm's way in the nick of time. It was Fi. She didn't say a word, simply holding up 3 fingers, reminding him she'd now saved him 3 times. Truong An just smiled and replied, 3 meals it is. They both looked up at the sky. The fog in the area seemed to be clearing up a bit. Looking over at the spider monster, it appeared to be motionless. It seems Truong An's attacks, plus the shock of the fight, knocked it out cold. Fi moved to draw her sword. "Should we finish it off now?" Truong An quickly stopped her. "If we go up there, we're dead. It's just adjusting to the pain of losing an eye. When it recovers, it'll be even more savage. We have to get out of here first. We'll figure it out later." So, Truong An and Fi immediately turned and fled. They ignored the giant spider monster, standing motionless there. As the fog lifted, the so-called paradise revealed its true form. Just a forest filled with ruined, dilapidated houses. The luxury from before was all just an illusion. Reaching the riverbank, they reunited with the scholar. But their luck had run out. The boat had already left the dock some time ago, and it was the only one on the entire island. Before they could even process it, the spider, now used to the pain, returned more vicious than ever. Truong An's weapon was still stuck in the spider's eye, so he had to borrow Fi's sword to charge back into the fight. Not wanting to be a burden anymore, Fi provided cover from behind with her slingshot. But what could her tiny iron pellets do against the giant spider's iron-hard hide? They were barely tickling it. Meanwhile, Truong An was still exhausted from overusing his demon-slaying technique. His stamina was fading fast. Truong An yelled to Fi, "Aim for its eye. Stop hitting its body." Fi immediately switched tactics, aiming only for the spider's eye. Truong An decided to pour every last bit of his strength into one final attack. If he failed, they'd be toast. Asterisk, clink. Asterisk. Fi's iron pellet nailed the monster right in the eye. It injured its eyeball, blinding it. Truong An leaped, seizing the chance to finish the monster off. But as he jumped in for the kill, Fi screamed from below, "Wait, you stinky Taoist." By the time she yelled, he had already plunged his sword straight into the monster's head. Green goo oozed from its head. What was that about? Why did she yell, "Wait"? The spider monster collapsed. On top of it, an exhausted Truong An passed out. Fi and the scholar rushed over to check on him. He seemed okay, just completely spent. Staring at the twitching monster, Fi wondered, Did we actually kill the demon spider? The words barely left her lips when the monster's body swelled up. Then, asterisk, boom, asterisk, it exploded. The scholar and Fi were both knocked out by the blast. Sometime later, Truong An awoke. He opened his eyes to see a strange figure before him. While he was hanging upside down, staring at the bizarre creature, Truong An thought, "Who is this guy?" The creature remained silent. Suddenly, it shoved a purple tube into Truong An's mouth. After a few gurgling sounds, it pulled the tube back out. Truong An coughed violently. "What did you just do?" The creature replied with 2 words, "Feeding you." Seeing spider legs on its back, Truong An recognized it, a human corrupted by demonic energy. Truong An scanned the area. Is this the real demon spider's lair? The others, including Master Tiet, were trapped here too. He then spotted 2 familiar faces, Fi, and the scholar. But why did only his 2 friends look like they were in agony? Everyone else looked eerily calm. Don't tell me. They're already dead? The creature seemed to read his mind. As it fed another victim, it said, "They're not dead, just suffering. For them, death would be a mercy." Just then, the strange creature collapsed. At the same time, the giant spider monster supposedly dead appeared once more. It loomed over Truong An and let out a furious roar. His sword was still jammed in the corner of its eye. Suddenly, a spider leg shot past him, grazing his face and leaving a scratch. A few drops of blood trickled down, but the monster's true target was the person tied up behind him. It lifted the victim high and extended a sharp proboscis. Asterisk, stab, asterisk. It plunged the tip straight into the person's head. Instantly, the victim was drained, leaving behind nothing but a shriveled husk of skin and bone. After feeding, the spider grabbed another person and injected them with its venom. After toying with the poor soul, the spider hung them up right next to Truong An. Just then, Fi and the scholar started to wake up. Truong An sighed. "Of all the times. So, it let you 2 wake up?" The scholar said, trembling. "It looks like that spider monster intentionally left the 3 of us alive. For now, at least. Maybe we get to live a little longer." But Fi was despondent. That's even worse. Knowing death is coming and just waiting for it. Truong An spoke up. "Death? I don't think it's our time just yet." Truong An called out to the strange creature that had fed him. "Should I call you a monster, or should I call you Nugu Tu Tai? Right now, that Nguban guy has absolute power in Chi County, and everyone there believes the mountain spider is a god. Only your wife and son are saying this. Weaver Goddess is actually a monster. Not only that, but your son has repeatedly caused chaos at her temple, forcing Nuban to act. So, what do you think? Is Nuban going to bring your son here? Will he end up like you, neither human nor ghost? Or will he be wrapped in a cocoon and sucked dry like these corpses?" Suddenly, Ngu Tutai spoke. "I wouldn't dare call myself a scholar. I just know how to read a bit. I know what you're trying to say, but it's all useless." The scholar and Fi retorted, "How can you know it's useless without trying? See the spider monster's eye? That rotten Taoist priest is the one who did that." Tutai appeared before them and said, "One eye? So what? Look at me and you'll understand. It loses 1 eye. It still has 7 more. The fog on this mountain is all part of its web. Even if I helped you out of these cocoons, there's no way for you to escape this fog unless you have a way to kill the spider monster." As he spoke, Ngu Tutai clenched his fist. He clearly wanted the spider dead too. Truong An told him. It's true that I don't have a plan, but that doesn't mean someone else doesn't. Isn't that right, Master Xie? But when everyone looked at Master Xie, she was also trapped inside a cocoon. But Truong An just said, how could a stunning beauty like Master Xie possibly smell like rotten fish? And funnily enough, I smell something very fragrant right behind me. It turned out the real Master Xie was standing right behind them. You rotten little Taoist. You may look all serious, but you've got a fresh mouth on you, always spouting nonsense. Master Xie leaped down next to her exact double. With a flick of her finger, the disguise instantly vanished. It turned out to be the boatman inside. Master Xie obviously wasn't trapped, so if she came this deep on purpose, she must have a plan, right? Master Xie did a flip, jumping straight to the branch Truong An was hanging from. Little Taoist, where do you think I'm from? Truong, and cursed inwardly. Holy crap, what kind of question is that? I'm from another world. How the hell would I know? Master Xie said, I'm from Lingnan. My homeland is 7/10 mountain, 2/10 water, with only 1/10 of it being farmland. In a bad year, every family lost someone to the winter. But even in a good year, people still died. It's funny, human lives are like weeds. No matter what, you can't kill them all off. Luckily, the nearby mountains were home to a species of giant spider. Inside their silk sacks, a kind of white pearl would sometimes form. The nobles of the Central Plains loved these pearls. Finding just one could be traded for enough food to get the entire village through winter. But to get the pearl, you had to cut the spider open. This species is called the cart spider because it's as big as a cartwheel. But that's the Han name for them. We called them A Shuji Chinla, which means man-eating monster. These cart spiders are incredibly dangerous. 5 or 6 skilled hunters couldn't even take one down. But we discovered a plant called Yi Ri Shu. If they eat just a tiny piece, they fall into a death-like sleep. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But the problem is, the monster is a spider, not a rabbit. They don't eat plants, so we had to find a way to bait them. We'd make the bait, eat the Yi Ri Shu, and then feed that bait to the spider monster. But even if it was starving, the spider wouldn't just eat anything. So, what do you think we used for bait? Everyone fell silent at Master Xie's question. Looking back, it's almost laughable. All that effort to hunt the monster, with no guarantee it would even have a pearl inside. But still, we had to keep setting the bait. We used the elderly first. When they were gone, we used the young adults. After them, the children. It just kept going, until we either found a pearl or had enough food to survive. Master Xie's words made the scholar and Fifi turn pale with horror. Master Xie, if you have a plan, just say it. Why do you have to say such cruel things? Haha, you're too humane, scholar. But honestly, I have no plan to deal with this monster. Master Xi turned back to Truong An. You've heard of the Yunhuan Che, right? What do you think of it? Truong An replied, that thing is basically impenetrable. Exactly. Impenetrable. This spider is like a pig. After it eats, it goes back to its lair to sleep. When it sleeps, it covers its entire body in webbing. I have no idea how thick those webs are. All I know is that after the spider wakes up and crawls out, the leftover. The cave was choked with spider webs, far thicker than the ones on Qi County's walls. Truong An was shocked by how dense they were. If so, even his demon slash wouldn't be able to cut through them. So, what about fire? Spider webs are weak to fire. But on our way up, the boatman confiscated our lighters. Master Shui just shook her head. The sunset lullaby can only put the spider demon to sleep. A huge fire would wake it up, no matter how deep its slumber. Truong An suddenly spoke up. I have a crazy idea, but it might be worth a shot. After hearing Truong An's plan, Master Shui considered it. It could work, but it would require a lot of manpower and resources. By the time I get everything ready, there might not even be bones left of you. Truong An was confused. It needs that much prep? Doesn't the government care about the safety of its people? Hearing the word government, Master Shui scoffed. He's just a loudmouth in Qi County. He won't even stand up to Niu Bancheng. So what makes you think he'd have the guts to fight a demon? Suddenly, the scholar, who had been silent the whole time, spoke up. Everyone, don't worry about that. Just go to the Qi County Inn and find a man named Wang Ren Qi. Tell him about our situation. I guarantee that county magistrate will bow his head and obey. The scholar's words stunned both Truong An and Master Shui. I was already suspicious about this scholar's horse. It's a tribute from a vassal state. He must be from a noble family. Only someone like that could own such a horse. I never thought he'd have such a powerful backing. Master Shui leaped over to the scholar. May I ask for the young master's noble name? The scholar blushed and replied, I am the unworthy prince, Wang Zifu. Master Shui smiled. Excellent. I'll use your name to scare that magistrate into preparing what we need. As for the three of you, stay here and pray for your own luck." Seeing Master Shui about to leave, Fai Fai yelled, "Hey, hey, wait, at least cut us down first, right?" But Master Shui had no intention of doing so. She turned back and said, "This little girl sure is naive." Fai's face turned beet red. "Hey, Shui, who are you calling a little girl? Are you blind? I am a proud male bandit." The scholar next to her chuckled. "Miss Fai, actually, the way men and women sit and lie down are very different. We've known you were a woman for a long time. It turns out the two guys with Fai knew she was a girl all along. They were just pretending not to." Fai blushed and cleared her throat. "When you're roaming the world, who cares about being a man or a woman? The problem now is that Master Shui didn't free us." Truong An explained. "It's actually easy to understand. First, she's afraid we'll startle the sleeping spider demon. Second, to catch a spider demon, you need bait. And we're the bait." Several days passed just like that. By now, the people hanging around Truong An's group had all been drained dry by the spider demon. If Master Shui didn't return soon, they'd be next on the menu. But using his hearing, Truong An realized Master Shui had arrived. "Niu Shu Kai, that food you gave those people yesterday was a bit strange. Was that the sunset lullaby?" Niu Shu Kai nodded. "Yes, that was it. Today, that Niu Wu will bring another group of people here. So the spider demon will leave its cave." Just as Niu Xiuqi finished speaking, the spider demon indeed woke up inside the cave. After its long slumber, you could see that Truong An's sword was still stuck in the spider's eye. Looking at the fake corpse of Master Shui hanging from a tree, Truong An had to admit her disguise skills were top-notch. Even though the boatman's body had been drained dry, the disguise wasn't exposed. But with the fake Master Shui now dead, that meant only 3 people were left: Truong An, Fi, and the scholar. Who among them would be the spider demon's next target? It seemed the lucky winner was Miss Fai. She was trembling, but still talked tough. "Go on, monster, do your worst. If I so much as flinch, I'll change my gender tomorrow, I swear." The scholar next to her chimed in, "You smelly spiderhead, if you've got the guts, eat me first. You think a prince like me is afraid of you?" Truong An sighed. "Why are you two fighting over this? It's not like the spider demon understands human language anyway." In the end, the chosen one was still Fi. Seeing that she was about to be drained dry, Truong An spat a mouthful of saliva right into the spider demon's eye. Splat. Once again, the monster was sent into a rage by Truong An. "Haha, see, spit is the most effective weapon. Come at me, you filthy spider. This Taoist master is ready to die today." Thwip. Without mercy, the spider demon's tongue plunged deep into Truong An's body. Truong An's face quickly turned purple, and he was completely powerless. He could only lie there as the monster sucked him dry. Fi screamed at the spider demon, "You damned spider, weren't you going to pick me? If you've got guts, let that smelly Taoist go and come after me." Truong An's vision began to blur, as if he were sinking, like falling into a bottomless abyss. Deep below, a blue light glowed as voices urged Truong An to wake up. Master Lai's voice echoed continuously. Opening his eyes again, Truong An was shocked to find himself still alive. Seeing Truong An awake, both Fi and Thusin were overjoyed. As they helped him up, he quickly asked, "What about the spider monster? What happened to it?" Master Tiet appeared and answered, "The spider? It's sleeping like the dead in its cave. It needs us to provide it with a nice, warm fire." Right after, the men behind Master Tiet started bringing out large jars. They poured a liquid substance all over the ground, covering the entire mountain. A high-ranking official rushed over to Truong An. "Thank you. Are you the great Taoist Huyen Tue? Thank you for saving my son's life. I heard about the spider monster from Master Tiet. As he instructed, I've prepared a massive amount of crude oil. We'll definitely be able to kill this spider monster." Master Tiet held a torch in his hand. "We can catch up later. Right now, we need to turn this place into a flaming mountain." As soon as Master Tiet threw the torch, the flames hit the oil and instantly engulfed the mountain. The entire giant mountain was swallowed by a sea of fire. Staring at the massive inferno, everyone thought the same thing. Surely this is enough to kill the spider monster, right? Truong An walked over to the soldiers behind him and borrowed a long spear. The man was confused. "Taoist, you're heavily injured. What do you need a spear for?" Truong An walked towards the fire with the spear and said, "To finish this." Of course. From within the roaring sea of flames, the giant monster spider, its body covered in fire, ran out screaming in agony. It headed straight for the river up ahead, trying to extinguish the flames on its body. But right in front of that river, Truong An was already waiting for it, spear in hand. If I let you escape today, I fear the people of Kai County will never know peace. Truong An used his knee to snap the long spear in two. Then, holding the spearhead, he channeled all his strength into it. A perfect throw sent the spear flying right through the weakened monster's head. With a loud thud, the spider collapsed to the ground. This time, it had to be truly dead. Truong An reached into the monster's eye socket to search for his sword. Finally, we meet again. My friend, it's only been a short while, but it feels like 100 years. Seeing the spider was dead, Ngu Tu Tai immediately rushed over. Standing before its corpse, he laughed maniacally. Haha, I've finally waited for this day. He stood over the monster's body and began to tear it apart. Then, Ngu Tu Tai pulled a giant red orb from inside the spider's body. But instead of keeping it for himself, Ngu Tu Tai respectfully presented the orb to Truong An. He then said, "Benefactor, please, may I borrow your sword for a moment?" After taking the sword, Ngu Tu Tai decisively used it to chop off the mutated spider legs on his own back. Next, he gouged out all the spider eyes on his face. This series of actions was so gruesome, even Truong An found it painful and couldn't bear to watch. "Benefactor, I have one last request." Ngu Tu Tai returned the sword to Truong An. At the same time, he handed him a silver ring. The moment Truong An saw the ring, he understood Ngu Tu Tai's request. "I understand. Rest assured, I will personally deliver this to your wife." After hearing Truong An's words, Ngu Tu Tai's final wish was fulfilled. He walked straight into the sea of fire. With a smile of satisfaction, he let himself be consumed by the flames. Watching this heartbreaking scene, Truong An could only let out a quiet sigh. That's just how the world is. Sometimes, there are things we simply cannot change, and things don't always go the way we want them to. The next morning, Thu Sin chased after Fifi, asking, "Miss Fifi, the world is a dangerous place. How will I ever hear news of you again?" Fifi, already on her horse, turned back and told Thu Sin, "Remember this. One day, my name will shake the heavens. When that time comes, you'll hear about me." Truong An stood behind them silently, not stopping them. Perhaps it was best to part ways here. This journey had come to an end. Watching Fifi's retreating figure, Thu Sin sighed. "Who knows when we'll meet again after today's farewell? Taoist, you." But when Thu Sin turned around, Truong An was already gone. Vuong Ki told him from behind. "The Taoist just left. Before he went, he left this donkey, saying he was entrusting it to you, young master." Thu Sin looked at the donkey, which was crying, clearly unwilling to part with Truong An. "Brother donkey, don't cry. You still have me by your side." The scene changes to the city gate of Ki County. It was now dusk. The city gate opened, and Lu Ban Than, dressed in a prisoner's uniform, snuck out furtively. "Ha ha ha, perfect. I bribed the gatekeeper, and now I'm free. Once I'm out, what is there to fear?" But Truong An was already standing there. "I've been waiting for you, Nu Ban Than. Where do you think you're running? For your heinous crimes, you'll die by my hand." Without another word, Truong An drew his sword and instantly cut Nu Ban Than down. The man only managed a gurgle as fresh blood spurted out, and just like that, he was dead, paying the price for all his sins. At the same time, at Nuku Ku and his mother's house, both were sound, asleep, completely unaware. On their tea table, a silver ring had mysteriously appeared. Truong An smiled and said, "Nu Tu Tai, you can now rest in peace. Your final wish has been fulfilled." The scene shifts back to the modern day. This guy's name is Tien Trin, a recent college grad, currently working for a media company. Since he's broke, he could only afford a tiny room. It's a bit of a dump, but it's fine for a temporary stay. The only problem is, during his stay, he's always had a few VIP guests, named cockroaches. At first, Tien Trin wasn't too bothered. After all, these roaches don't eat people, but these incidents started happening more and more often. So Tien Trin made a decision. He would wipe out every single roach in this place. He scattered roach poison all over the room and quickly saw results. Although the number of Estazoffer roaches was a bit more than expected, it actually piqued Tien Trin's interest. It was like farming. You sow the seeds one day and reap the harvest the next. What a thrill. But there was one thing Tien Trin never expected. His harvest just kept getting bigger. At first it was half a trash can, then a full one, and finally it piled up into a small mountain. Even the dumpster couldn't handle it all. This was seriously unnatural. In a fit of frantic obsession, he swore he'd find the source. He stormed into the room and tore apart every single nook and cranny, but still found nothing. So, he bought several security cameras and installed them in every corner. Before the sun was even up, Tian Trin was awake, rushing to his computer to check the surveillance footage. At first, the room was dead silent, not a single movement. Impatient, Tian Trin started fast-forwarding the video. Suddenly, from a corner of the wall, a few roaches crawled out. Then 2, then 3. And they just kept coming. Soon a mountain of roaches appeared. According to the video, a literal mountain of them had crawled into his room. Tian Trin shot up and searched the entire room again, but there wasn't a single roach in sight. Screw this. I'm packing my stuff and moving out tomorrow. But just then, 2 roach antennae poked out of Tian Trin's nostrils. The tickling sensation made him sneeze. Staring at the roach in his hand, covered in snot, Tian Trin was overjoyed. Haha, I finally know where you've been hiding. Back in Truong An's rented room, the gangster spirits were all looking downcast, because in front of them, an extremely evil spirit was growling menacingly. This ghost had just barged in, and with such a heavy aura of resentment, who could possibly fight it? The muscle said to a guy next to him, "Listen up. If I don't win this fight, you'll take over as the boss here." Got. As soon as he finished, the muscle leaped forward to battle the purple ghost. "Bring it on, you bastard." The spirits watching were worried sick, shouting and cheering for the muscle. Suddenly, Truong An shot up from his bed. What the hell is all this noise? Without a second thought, Truong An immediately cast a spell, grabbing the vicious spirit in his hand. Without any hesitation, Truong An took an empty bottle and stuffed the spirit inside. On top of that, Truong An carefully placed a sealing talisman on the bottle to prevent the ghost from escaping. It all happened so fast. The muscle's crew hadn't even processed it before Truong An had finished the extin job. The boss is so badass. The boss is finally awake. Truong An wiped his forehead and asked, "Where did this demonic entity come from with such a strong vengeful aura?" After defeating the spider demon, Truong An had gained a new power called wind riding. Simply put, it's a wind riding ability that allows Truong An to fly. Using this power was pretty easy, but the poison from the demon blade hadn't been fully neutralized yet. After using his power, his strength drained rapidly. As soon as he said that, Truong An collapsed onto the floor, unconscious again. Now, looking closely, the ghost that had been trapped in the bottle by Truong An had transformed into the shape of a cockroach. A moment later, Truong An was woken up by a phone call from an unknown number. The moment he answered, the voice of the charlatan, Master Truong, came through. "Master Li, I've been looking for you for days. Please, you have to save my daughter." Later, Truong An met up with Master Truong. They were standing there, waiting for someone else. After a moment, a fat guy came over to greet them. "Master Truong, you're here? Xiao Duong, this is Mr. Li Truong An. Don't be fooled by his young age. His spiritual arts are profound. He is the master. I personally invited to help crack this case." Hearing this, the fat guy got excited. "Then please, Master Truong, Master Li, follow me." After climbing, reaching the 8th floor, the 3 of them were gasping for air like they'd just survived hell. Man, climbing 8 floors with no elevator is a real killer. "Hang on, I'll get the door." Suddenly, a woman appeared behind them. "Hey, what do you think you're doing? You're a cop? Yet you're bringing 2 civilians onto the scene? What if you contaminate crucial evidence? Can you take responsibility for that?" Taoist Truong quickly tried to calm her down. Now, Xiao Yun, Chief. Wang already handed this case over to me. You don't need to get involved. The woman snapped back. "Who's Xiao Yun? My name is Truong Thien. What do you mean don't get involved? Am I the cop, or are you?" Just then, her phone rang. It was Truong Thien. After a series of yes sirs, it was clear her superior was on the line. "Ahem, listen up. Don't you dare contaminate this crime scene, or I'll have you doing squats for a week straight." After threatening them, Truong Thien stormed off, clearly annoyed. Watching her leave, Taoist Truong looked a little somber. Truong An guessed she was probably the old man's daughter. But if she's a cop, why would they need a Taoist's help? The real problem must be inside this room. As the door creaked open, a disgusting stench hit them like a physical blow, making Truong An and Taoist Truong immediately cover their noses. What the hell could smell that rotten in there? Fatty went straight for the window to air the place out, but Taoist Truong stopped him, worried about disturbing the scene. Truong An began scanning the room. Old Taoist Truong said, "The victim was found several days ago, so why haven't the police moved the body yet?" Noticing the cans of roach killer on the floor, Truong An wondered why the victim needed so much bug spray. Fatty started giving the details. The victim's name is Tien Trin, 22 years old. A recent college grad who moved to the city alone. He was working at a media company. The victim's eyes were wide open in terror, which Truong An found very suspicious. It looked like he died in a state of absolute panic, just as he was thinking about the eyes. A few seconds later, the corpse's eyes suddenly burst like water balloons. A shower of purple fluid sprayed everywhere. And then, from inside Tien Trin's body, hundreds of cockroaches began to swarm out. It was a horrifying sight. They were countless, like a tide of insects, and started crawling all over Fatty and Taoist Truong. So times was why. The cops couldn't remove the body. Every time someone got close, thousands of roaches would pour out of it. But unlike the other two, who were struggling frantically, not a single cockroach dared to approach Truong An. They would only crawl around him at a distance. Hearing old Truong screaming for help snapped Truong An out of his thoughts. He'd almost forgotten his two companions were in serious trouble. Truong An quickly formed a hand seal. Wind control. A powerful gust of wind shot from his mouth, blasting all the roaches off Taoist Truong and Fatty, and even blowing Fatty's wig clean off his head. But right after using the spell, Truong An collapsed to the ground, completely exhausted. The wind control technique was powerful. Turning breath into a gale, but mastering it, was incredibly difficult. It consumed as much spiritual energy as his demon-slaying technique. Just then, Officer Truong Tien burst in, radiating pure fury, and laid into the old Taoist. "Truong Dai Luke, you've really done it now. I told you to. Preserve the crime scene. Now look at this place. Is this what you call preserving a crime scene?" The Taoist panicked. "Xiao Yun, let me explain." Truong Tien scoffed. "Who's Xiao Yun? I'm telling you again. My name is Truong Tien." Without another word, she slapped handcuffs on the old Taoist. "If you want to explain, you can do it down at the station." And so, even Truong An, the one who actually trashed the scene, was cuffed and hauled off to the station like a common criminal. Downstairs, they found a guy on the ground, clutching his leg and screaming. "Who threw glass from upstairs? My leg is ruined." Truong Tien walked over. "Is that you? Bok 2? Faking an injury again?" The moment the guy saw the cops, he jumped up to run. "Oh, Captain Truong. I was just, playing with some roaches. That's all." Suddenly, a crowd of residents surrounded the officers. "What's going on, Captain Truong? Why are there so many roaches? We've been forced to stay in a hotel for days. Why haven't you buried that dead guy yet?" Truong Tien tried to calm the crowd. "Please, everyone, rest assured. We will resolve this issue as soon as possible." Meanwhile, Truong An and the old Taoist quietly slipped away, escaping from the fierce officer. With a few quick movements, the handcuffs were off. Taoist Truong sighed. "Master Truong An, I'm sure you see the connection between me and Xiao Yun. She is, in fact, my daughter with my ex-wife. The reason I only got involved because I feared you'd face something no ordinary person could handle. But now, this is getting out of hand." Truong An held something in his hand and told Taoist Master Truong, "You made the right choice coming to me." Turns out, the thing in Truong An's hand was a cockroach. Back in the victim's room, I found traces of magic at the scene. But whether it's ancient sorcery or demonic arts, I can't tell yet. Someone is definitely pulling the strings from the shadows. Truong An placed his dragon-guiding talisman on the roach and set it ablaze. Purple smoke rose from the insect, drifting towards a nearby location. If Truong An's guess was right, the next victim was in that direction. Truong An and Taoist Master Truong went straight to the room where they suspected the next victim was. The Taoist Master scratched his head and asked, "Mr. Lee, are you sure this is the place? We've been knocking for a while, but it seems like no one's home." Truong An handed the palm-sized cockroach to old Truong. "If knocking doesn't work, we'll use a more physical method. I just hope you have life insurance." With a loud crash, one kick from Truong An blew the door wide open. From inside, a horrifying swarm of mutated purple mosquitoes burst out, buzzing like an endless plague. After the swarm flew out of the room, Truong An saw another corpse inside. This body was in the same horrific state as the last victim, completely covered by the purple mosquitoes, its form totally obscured. Truong An once again performed his wind control technique, conjuring a whirlwind just strong enough to blow the mosquitoes away. Only then could they see the man's true state. He had been sucked so dry by the mosquitoes that only skin and bones remained. Truong An was about to get closer to inspect the victim when Taoist Master Truong screamed from behind, "Mr. Lee, Watch out. Just when they thought all the mosquitoes were gone, they were wrong. A huge number of them were still hiding inside the man's body. The moment Truong An approached, they suddenly swarmed out in massive numbers. Seeing the mosquitoes about to escape, Truong An immediately pulled a dagger from his robes. Heavenly killing sweeps, earthly killing aligns, one breath of soaring steel, 10,000 demons perish. Asterisk thwack. Asterisk Truong An's dagger pinned one of the mosquitoes straight to the wall. The divine sword technique. A truly incredible power, but every time he used it, Truong An's spiritual energy was severely drained. Walking over to the pinned mosquito, Truong An pulled a purple stone from its abdomen. I've never seen anything like this before. I can only sense a faint trace of spiritual energy inside it. Taoist Master Truong asked, "So what do we do now, Mr. Lee? What else? Hand me that cockroach." But that old man was useless at everything except causing trouble. The cockroach Truong An had given him was nowhere to be found. It's gone. It's gone. I must have panicked earlier and wasn't paying attention. It must have flown away. Mr. Lai, quick, use your divine powers to find it. Truong An just buried his face in his hands. This old geezer was completely useless. Suddenly, Truong An realized the cockroach hadn't escaped. It had crawled onto the old Taoist master. Don't move, old man. Stay perfectly still. Truong An threw his dagger again. Asterisk, zip. Asterisk, a perfect throw sliced the cockroach's head clean off. The old Taoist master grabbed Truong An's leg like he was his savior. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for your help. Truong An sighed. This is partly my fault. I never should have trusted you in the first place. Don't come with me next time. Wait, don't say that, Mr. Lai. If I don't solve this case, how can I face Xiao Yun? Besides, having me around is still convenient, right? Truong An sighed again. Fine, but you have to get life insurance first. Life insurance first. I don't want to get dragged back to the station by Officer Truong again. He looked at the dead roach on the ground and wondered if it was like the mosquito. Truong An stomped on it with his foot, squashing the roach's body flat. Just as he suspected, the same purple stone was inside the roach before it sent out countless invisible threads, revealing that this city was also plagued by these insects. Now that the roach was dead, the threads were severed, and the lingering scent was gone. Only by finding the latest victim could they trace the real culprit. A while later, at the police station, Taoist Master Truong boasted proudly, "See, Mr. Lee, I told you, bringing me along was useful. I just had to make one call to the chief, and now we can ask whatever we want, easy as pie." Truong An turned to ask the chubby police officer, "What's the status?" "Xiao Tang, did you identify the victim?" "We did. The victim's name is Tui Luong. Just like Tian Trin, he was also from out of town. He used to live in the same inn as Tian Trin and had only recently moved out before he died. The forensics team estimates his time of death is close to Tian Trin's. Based on the current situation, we can confirm this is a serial murder case. The methods are unclear and extremely vicious. Captain Truong has already taken his team to seal off the scene. Furthermore, the other people from that inn have also. They've brought everyone in for questioning. Looks like those folks over there were the victim's neighbors. That girl looks terrified of the guy next to her. She keeps inching away. The guy sees this and flashes a disgusting smirk. Truong An asks Fatty, "Who's that guy?" "Him? That's Bok 2, a longtime junkie, but the girl won't look at him, and it's not out of fear. It's because he did something unforgivable." Suddenly, Truong Tien asks, "Unforgivable? What did he do?" The moment they see Truong Tien, both Fatty and Old Man Truong get nervous. "It's nothing, I was just messing around." "Captain Truong, why don't you talk with Taoist Lai? I just remembered something urgent came up." Old Man Truong also chimes in. "I just remembered, one of my disciples had a baby. I have to go visit." Truong Tien approaches Truong An and says, "Don't listen to Fatty's crap, that Bok 2 guy. His story is actually pretty tragic. He gets hauled into the station all the time. He has a strange illness, and when it flares up, his whole body is in agony. So he started using morphine for the pain. Over time, he developed a tolerance and got hooked. The saddest part is his daughter, who's only 3 or 4 years old and super cute, but he got dragged down by other addicts. To his credit though, no matter how bad his addiction got, he always made sure his daughter was fed. That's his situation. If you have any more questions, just ask. But I'm warning you, don't go off and do anything on your own." Suddenly, Truong An closes his eyes, sniffs the air, and asks Truong Tien, "Is the morgue on this floor?" Truong Tien shakes her head. "No. Why would the morgue be on the investigation floor? What's wrong?" Her answer takes Truong An by surprise. "I smell a dead body nearby." Just as he says that, Taoist Truong rushes over, shouting, "We've found him, Master Li! We've found the newest victim!" Arriving at the crime scene, Truong An sees several cops puking their guts out by the door. Inside, the body of a mutated man lies by the entrance. Taoist Truong whispers to Truong An, "I might have bragged to them that you're a high-level consultant. You better show them something. Don't make me look bad." Truong An takes out a divine dragon jade spirit talisman and burns it. Instantly, his sense of smell becomes superhuman. The next thing you know, Truong An is running outside, vomiting alongside the other cops. The stench is the same as the last victims, but I can't find any insects or foreign objects in this corpse. Either I've missed it, or the killer realized we were onto them and got rid of the evidence. Truong An returns to the room. He sees a few officers crying next to the body and asks, "You guys knew the victim?" Fatty replies, "His name was Tun Dung. He used to be one of us. He was kicked off the force not too long ago for a mistake on the job. But let's not get into that. He's gone now." Truong An thinks for a moment. What kind of mistake was it? I think Tun Dung's death might have been revenge. Fatty scoffs. Revenge? No way. We're just talking about that Bok 2 guy. After getting such a huge settlement, he must have been ecstatic. Truong An presses on. What happened between Bok 2 and Tun Dung? I heard the guy has a daughter, about 3 or 4 years old. If he's in rehab, what about his daughter? Fatty sighs. That's where this whole mess started. Word is, before Bok 2 was taken in, he knelt and begged Tun Dung, telling him his daughter was still home, but Tun Dung had just been cheated on. He was completely out of it all day. We don't know if he forgot or just tuned it out. By the time we remembered the little girl, she was already gone. There was blood all over the main door. Several people involved were fired, and Tun Dung was ultimately blamed. He was supposed to go to prison, but his family had connections, and the department was worried about a scandal. So the higher-ups swept the whole incident under the rug. Even some people here don't know the full story. Who would have thought? Tun Dung escaped the law, but he couldn't escape a murderer. Honestly, that Tun Dung guy got what he deserved. As for Bok 2's neighbors, his little girl pounded on their doors until her hands were raw. They couldn't even bother to ask what was wrong, or just make one call to the local police. Truong An adds, "I'm guessing most of Bok 2's neighbors are dead now, right? By the way, is Bok 2 from around here?" Fatty shakes his head. No, his registration is from Kiem Nam. Hearing that name, it clicks for both Truong An and Taoist Truong. He's from the Black Meow tribe, a clan that specializes in using venomous creatures to cultivate goo poison insects. Immediately, Truong An and Taoist Truong jump in a police car and race back to the station, with the Taoist bawling his eyes out the entire ride. "This is bad, Mr. Li. You have to save my daughter. She's at the station with that monster by 2 right now." Truong An tried to reassure him, "Don't worry. Even though Captain Truong is at the station, she isn't his target." But contradicting Truong An, Fatty the driver said, although Tun Dung took the blame, it was Captain Truong who arrested Bai Tu that time. Hearing this, the old man panicked even more and pulled out his phone. He tried calling his daughter, but she didn't pick up. "It's all my fault. If anything happens to her, this old man will regret it for the rest of my life." Truong An spoke up. "Can we contact any nearby police forces?" Fatty replied, "Because of this case, all the officers are scattered. Even if we scrambled them now, they wouldn't make it in time. Captain Truong is very capable though." The old man snapped at Fatty. "Damn it. Of course you're not worried. It's not your daughter. Just drive faster. Drive like you're rushing to be reborn." Meanwhile, at the police station, Bai Tu was holding a children's toy, but his face was completely dazed. Truong Tin said to him, "How has your daughter been? I brought this toy back from my business trip for her. Give it to her when you get back. Don't keep making your child suffer because of you." Suddenly, after hearing Truong Tin, the girl next to him broke out, in a cold sweat, trembling and inching further away. Bai Tu suddenly covered his face and began laughing like a maniac. "Haha, so you really don't know anything. Fine. That annoying pest isn't here anyway, so we have plenty of time. We can take this nice and slow." A short while later, the police car with Truong An and the old Taoist arrived back at the station. Truong and immediately jumped out. "You guys stay in the car. Don't get in my way." But Fatty insisted on following. Truong An, "I'm a police officer too, after all." Truong An shot back, "So, can you handle goo insects? Or do you want to go in there and become a poisoned pig? A police officer's duty is to protect the people. I'm leaving the old man in your hands, Fatty." As he ran inside, Truong An thought, "I smelled a foul stench like a rotting corpse here before. I thought it was from the morgue, but now I realize that smell was coming from Bai Tu." The moment he got upstairs, Truong An was greeted by a grim sight. Everyone in the station was passed out. On the floor, he checked their breathing one by one. Luckily, they were just knocked out. Their lives weren't in danger. But Captain Truong and the girl who was with Bai Tu were nowhere to be found. Just as Truong An was wondering, the girl from earlier appeared right behind him, but in a very bizarre state, with countless snakes coiling around her body. Truong An instantly unleashed a divine art. Evil star judgment. 100 ghosts perish, heavenly fiend, earthly execution. A single slash was all it took to dice every snake on the girl's body into pieces. Truong An knelt to check on the girl, hoping she could still be saved. But suddenly, another snake shot out from her mouth. Truong An grabbed its head and with another slash, lopped it clean off. Looks like this Bai Tu's power is too weak. These goo insects aren't fully tamed. Their life force is still incredibly strong. Just like the previous goo insects, this snake had a purple stone inside it for control. I wonder how many of these stones that bastard Bai Tu has. Truong An then heard a cough from behind him. He went to investigate and found the suspect, Bai Tu, hiding inside. The moment he saw Truong An, he tried to bolt, but he didn't get far before Truong An threw a dagger straight into his calf, sending him tumbling to the ground. This Bai Tu was a crafty one. He faked being in agony, waiting for Truong An to get close, to launch a surprise attack. But Truong An immediately infused his sword with power, easily shattering Bai Tu's dark purple energy. He pointed his blade right at Bai Tu's face. "Don't waste your energy resisting," Truong An said. "You're not getting away." Unbelievably, Bai Tu was more guts than brains. He leaped straight from the second-story window. He didn't forget to flip Truong An off, yelling, "Escape? My ass!" Furious, Truong An vaulted through the same window in pursuit. Asterisk, crack, asterisk, Truong An landed hard on his feet, with his old injuries not fully healed. It looked like he'd be limping out of this, if not crippled. At that moment, the old Taoist master, Truong, saw Truong An and Bai Tu chasing each other, both with a limp. The Taoist immediately leaped forward and tackled Bai Tu, yelling, "Quick, Mr. Li. This old body can't hold him for long." But what they didn't expect was that Bai Tu could actually detach his own arm from his body. His arm, as if it were made of goo insects, quickly dissolved into countless toxic bugs that swarmed into the old Taoist's body. Truong An instantly slapped a talisman on the old master's head and chanted, "Heavenly fiend, earthly execution," then promptly smacked him across the face. "One hit messed you up. Wake up, old man. Bai Tu and his damn insects have already escaped." Old man Zhang frantically asked about his daughter. "Where's my Xiaoyun? Have you seen her? What happened to her?" Just then, Truong Thien appeared with a bag of food, asking, "Truong An, what are you two doing here? Shouldn't you be at the crime scene?" Soon after, everyone who was knocked unconscious at the station was rushed to the hospital. Fatty ran in, panicking. "Where's Mr. Lai? Master, is everyone okay?" Master Zhang replied, "We're fine. How's little Yun?" "Don't worry, Captain. She blames herself a bit, but she knows it was unavoidable. Who could have known Bai Tu would strike the moment the captain stepped out to get everyone food? She even left her phone at the police station." Truong An appeared to comfort the old master. "Don't you worry. Even though Captain Truong arrested Bai Tu herself, she had no idea what happened to his daughter. Bai Tu's target wasn't the captain, but Master Zhang was still shaking with rage. But Mr. Lai, he attacked a ton of people at the station. Does he look like someone who cares who's innocent and who's guilty? You really can't judge a dark arts practitioner by normal standards. But if Bai Tu really wanted to make his move, why did he wait for Truong Tien to leave? Mr. Li, is there really no other way to track down Bai Tu? If you have any idea at all, please, help us catch that monster." Truong An sighed. "The spiritual energy in the modern world is weak. The power of my dragon-guiding jade spirit talisman is severely diminished. L City is filled with too many mixed scents, making it nearly impossible to track Bai Tu." Master Zhang asked again, "Mr. Li, what if we summon a vengeful spirit? We can ask the dead to help us find Bai Tu." Truong An replied, "I don't know how to summon spirits. I haven't learned that power yet." But the old master's words sparked an idea. Truong An suddenly realized he already had a vengeful spirit on hand. He immediately rushed back to his apartment. In front of him was the bottle containing that vicious spirit from before. Some wandering ghosts find a place in the living world that tethers their souls. This allows them to linger and slowly let go of their rage. But can your time's rage ever fade? Tien Trin. Later that night, Truong An stood in the building's lobby, drawing several new talismans. Next up, the soul lantern ritual. It was his first time performing the ceremony his master taught him, and he wasn't sure it would work. I beseech the spirits of the four corners. Open the gates of the four directions. After the prayer, Truong An uncapped the bottle, releasing Tien Trin's spirit and pointing it towards a ceramic box. Truong An commanded, "Honored spirit, enter your vessel," but Tien Trin just floated there, laughing. Truong An repeated himself. I said, "Enter your vessel." The spirit kept laughing. Truong An said one last time, "Enter your vessel." 3 strikes, you're out. On the third command, Tien Trin charged straight at him. The only thing he got was a fist straight to the face. Holy crap, you want to do this the hard way? Do you want your revenge or not? Huh? Each question was punctuated by another kick from Truong An. After a thorough beatdown, Tien Trin finally submitted and entered the ceramic box. They say the soul lantern points to the person the spirit hates most. Baitu killed Tien Trin, and who knows how many others he's murdered. As he walked on, the foul stench of the goo insects began to fill the air. Looks like this is the place. If Truong An was right, Baitu was hiding in the abandoned building up ahead. Truong An snuck inside and, sure enough, found Baitu performing some kind of ritual in one of the rooms. Unbelievably, his severed arm had already grown back. He was busy writing strange symbols on a piece of paper. Looking around, the place was crawling with goo insects. They feed on blood and life essence. No wonder the guy was hooked. He was even more emaciated than a typical junkie. Just then, a loud clap of thunder echoed outside. Baitu muttered, "A storm's coming. Better shut the door. My daughter was always so scared of thunder." But as he reached for the door, a blast of golden energy shattered it to pieces. Truong An stormed in, sword in hand. He declared, "Baitu, there's nowhere left to run." Round 2 of their epic battle had officially begun. Baitu pulled out a flute. He began to play, commanding the insects. Truong An's own divine power flared to life, ready for the clash. With every note from Baitu's flute, the swarm of goo insects surged towards Truong An. A tide of purple light, like a demonic horde, crashed against Truong An's demon-slaying technique. The two opposing forces, dark purple and brilliant gold, clashed relentlessly. The more Baitu used the insects, the more they began to consume his own body. Truong An carved through the insect swarm and lunged forward, running him through with his sword. Right through Baitu's chest, but not a drop of blood came out, only this purple ooze. Instead, Baitu just grinned and sprayed a torrent of purple slime at Truong An, forcing him back. He struggled to block it. At this rate, the guy would wear him down. To end this once and for all, he had to kill the queen worm to turn the tables. Baitu was becoming more unhinged, his body almost completely consumed by the parasitic worms. Truong An slashed his sword across the man's torso, forcing the worms to part and reveal the flesh beneath. Dagger in hand, Truong An hurled it straight at the queen worm inside. Baitu's body, a direct hit. The dagger pierced the queen, and instantly, all the parasitic worms on Baitu died, disintegrating into nothing. Truong An walked over to the dry husk and the queen's corpse on the ground, sighing. He got away again. But after shedding his skin to escape, there was Baitu even human anymore? Before him was a table covered in disgusting, crawling things. Were these the ritual offerings Baitu had set up? Suddenly, Tien Trin's vengeful spirit shot out of the soul lantern. It flew to the offerings and began tearing into them. Truong An realized that after devouring them, the vengeful aura around Tien Trin was fading. At the same time, on the floor, Truong An noticed a journal Baitu had left behind. Its contents read, "Today, Granny found me a new vessel. His name is Baitu. He seems a bit simple, but if it weren't for him, your granny would have died on the street today." The naive Baitu came home with her, not knowing he was being used. To be honest, I can see that Baitu isn't simple-minded at all. He knows something's wrong. He's clearly in pain, but he chose not to. Leave. I don't know why. I know my duty as a grass demon witch forbids love, especially with a vessel. But I'm pregnant, I told Baitu, and he just gave me that goofy smile. He's already picked out a name. Whether it's a boy or girl, they'll be named Choo Choo. But my dear, foolish Baitu, Granny will never let this child be born. If we want this baby, we have to escape. Leave this place. Baitu, by the time you read this, I'll probably be gone, but you have to keep living. You have to live well and raise our Choo Choo. Don't ever come back. Don't use the worms again. And don't remember me. A heartbroken Baitu held his crying newborn. Choo Choo. Exaza, just wait for me. I won't let you be alone for long. When Choo-Choo grows up, we'll come find you. Today, I found a strange purple stone. The moment I got near it, the worms inside me started acting up. This thing is too dangerous. I've hidden it away. Don't worry, Zasha. I won't mess with the worms again. But the pain is getting worse every day. The painkillers from the hospital don't even work anymore. Then, after Bakhtu was released from prison, he received devastating news. His daughter, Choo-Choo, had passed away at home. From that day on, Bakhtu snapped. Just dying is getting off too easy. You all mocked me, called me a monster. So how about I let you taste what it's like to be eaten by one? That's when he started using the purple stone. The worms, inside him, empowered by the stone, now obeyed his every command. He sent them to invade the bodies of those bastards, devouring their organs from the inside out. Haha, Choo-Choo, did you see? Daddy got revenge for you. They'll all be coming down to serve you soon. Even that officer you adored, Truong An. Zaza, I can't hold on much longer. There's still one left. If I sacrifice a bit more of my own body, I think I can control the worms one last time. Exa, Choo-Choo. Don't worry. I'll be with you both very soon. As Truong An finished the journal, Tien Trin finished devouring the offerings, his spirit now purified. He wept, saying the pain of being eaten alive by the insects was something beyond words. Truong An began his ritual chant, "Let salvation reach all souls, let this merit cleanse all ills, and let all beings be saved. May the lords of 10 heavens, countless as grains of sand, guide you." As he spoke, Tien Trin's soul began to dissipate, descending to the underworld to begin a new life. The next day at the hospital, old man Truong wasn't much help, but he was number one when it came to holding a grudge. Sorry about that. I wasn't any help, and I made Mr. Lai watch over me all night. Say, Mr. Lai, you got a light? Need to light this cigarette. Suddenly, Truong An appeared and snatched the cigarette right out of his mouth. No smoking in the hospital. Don't think you can get away with it just 'cause Mr. Lai's here. Look at you. At your age, in a hospital, and you're still trying to smoke? A moment later, Truong An stepped outside. Truong An asked her, aren't you going to tell him the truth? He thinks I was the one who took care of him all night. Truong An shook her head. It's no big deal. He doesn't need to know. Then, Truong An suddenly proposed something. Captain Truong An, if you don't mind, could I buy you a drink? Later, at a bar, Truong An was sipping a cocktail. Truong An walked in, wearing a black dress, and asked, am I late, Mr. Lee? Truong An was a bit stunned by her appearance. You didn't have to go all out. This is just a friendly chat. Look at me, I'm still in my work clothes, she replied. I'm not worried about you judging me. Work's been so busy, I've forgotten how long it's been since I've been on a date like this. And with that, they happily clinked their glasses. By the way, Truong An asked Truong An, on your way here, did you notice a strange smell? Truong An shook her head. No. Why, Mr. Lee? Truong An then said, I just remembered I forgot my phone. Could I borrow yours for a moment? A moment later, Truong An was standing in a dark alley, holding Truong An's phone. As if talking to himself, Truong An said, no matter what kind of magic it is, whether it's a spirit curse or a hex, even a simple jinx, they all need something to lock onto a target. The high-level ones need a birth date and a true name. The slightly lower-level ones use hair, nails, or flesh. So, what kind of dark art are you using to track your target? Then, it hit me. It's a scent, isn't it? But scents are easily washed away, so how do you guarantee it stays on the target? What's something a person always carries but doesn't get its scent washed away? The answer is a cell phone. Am I right, Bakhtu? Am I right, Bakhtu? But by the looks of him, this guy Bakhtu probably isn't even human anymore. As soon as they met, the two immediately lunged at each other to settle their unfinished business. Truong An had 3 daggers ready. He threw them, and all 3 blades sank straight into Bakhtu. He didn't even have the basic instinct to dodge anymore. Selling your soul completely. Is this what you call the final sacrifice? Bakhtu had now lost even the ability to speak. He was just like a soulless corpse, whose only goal was to kill Truong An. Truong An pulled out a talisman and said, do you know why I chose the alley behind this bar? Because it's quiet and secluded. Plus, there are gas pipes here. With that, Truong An tossed the burning talisman to the ground. As the talisman fell, Truong An activated his wind control ability, creating a gust of wind with a swing of his sword that fanned the flames. The fire instantly engulfed Bakhtu's insect-like body. In seconds, his entire body was incinerated. Only a glowing purple stone remained. Truong An immediately drew his sword and stabbed it. The strange stone was instantly shattered. Just as he finished, Truong An ran out and asked, "Truong An, what just happened?" Truong An returned the phone to her, said thanks, and turned to leave. He had no intention of telling her what had just transpired. A month passed. At the apartment building, where Truong An lived, some cute new girls moved in. BOOK WORLD, watching from upstairs, couldn't take his eyes off the beauties. Truong An was hopeless with this guy. Even in death, he's still a girl, crazy ghost. BOOK WORLD turned around and saw Truong An packing a lot of supplies into a cloth bag. He realized Truong An was planning to go out again. Truong An nodded. "I had a dream last night." At the same time, a spatial portal opened next to Truong An. It looked like another monster was about to appear. The scene shifts to an ancient village, where an old man is telling stories to a group of children. North of the Shangjiang River, south of the Sishui River, lies a place called Yuzhou. This Yuzhou is a strange place. Inside the city gate is Yuzhou County. But outside the gate is the Thousand Buddha Temple. A little girl asked, "What's the Thousand Buddha Temple?" It's a sacred Buddhist sanctuary, famous for 100 miles. The monks of Thousand Buddha Temple have achieved unparalleled merit in all of Yuzhou. Every year, disciples of the Buddha achieve enlightenment, so the city thrives on incense offerings, with endless temples, thousands of grand halls, and tens of thousands of pavilions. Most of the land in Yuzhou has become the property of the great monks, and most of its people have become their devout followers. The Buddhist festival is in a few days. If we get the chance, we should go see it for ourselves. Right behind the storyteller, Truong An was holding a yellow-covered book, which showed the image of a monster with the body of a Buddha. 3 heads and 6 arms. The scene changes to a temple within Yuzhou County. Below, many bald men were patrolling. Up in a tree, another man was hiding. "Amitabha, why is security so tight? Damn it, that guy Tuo Fei didn't even leave me a scrap. Even the head monk Jing Xian didn't get a cut. Whatever, as long as I can score some silver tonight, I'll definitely win it all back tomorrow with huge returns." Just then, a scream rang out. "I don't want to become a Buddha." Not far away, a group of Buddhists were chanting scriptures. "Do not give rise to a mind that abides in form, sound, scent, taste, touch, or thought. A mind should arise that abides in nothing." In front of the monks, a man kept screaming, "No, I don't want to be a Buddha. I don't want to be a Buddha. Hey, isn't that the monk? Model, Ban Nguyen, huh? They say despite his age, he's a master of Buddhist law. Is he really being chosen to become a Buddha this year? What's with all that screaming? Sounds like a pig being slaughtered." But the guy hiding in the tree noticed a few other important figures had arrived. Abbot Liao Yuan and the Qi guests are all here. Why have all the temple's head monks gathered? They forced the one named Ban Nguyen to drink some unknown substance. Then the monks shaved his head. At the same time, his legs went completely numb. The monks just kept chanting Amitabha Buddha, ignoring Ban Nguyen as he lay, screaming on the ground. Then, the monks brought out a lotus pedestal from the temple, with a sharp spike sticking straight up. It was about a meter long. Just like that, several monks lifted Ban Nguyen and carried him towards the pedestal, with a sickening squelch. Ban Nguyen's body was impaled on that sharp iron spike, pinning him directly onto the lotus pedestal. An old head monk gave orders from behind. Neck a bit to the right, chin tucked in, legs together, eyebrows lowered. The right corner of the mouth is a little too high. Yes, that's it. Perfect. Amitabha. The guy hiding in the tree watching this was horrified. So this is what they call becoming a Buddha? This method seems way too twisted. The head abbot continued to issue orders. "Remember, don't let anyone get near. Once you move Ban Wen inside, guard him carefully for me. The reputation of our Tianfat Tu temple will not allow for any mistakes. Understood?" The disciples behind him replied respectfully, "Yes, master." At that moment, the monk in the tree thought, "I have to get the hell out of here." Before, the old head abbot once praised me for my natural talent. If I don't leave soon, I'm afraid the next person to become a Buddha will be me. But in this cruel world, how can I escape without any travel money? Just then, outside the temple gate, 2 guards were whispering to each other. The senior one said, "Junior brother, I suddenly remembered I have something urgent tonight. So could you be a dear and watch the gate for me?" The junior brother replied, "Urgent business? You mean you're going to see the Lin family's widow, don't you?" Busted. The senior monk didn't even try to hide it. It's true, that Lin family widow is a real knockout. How about tonight, we brothers go have some fun together, huh? And so, the 2 monks decided to go, get laid together, leaving the gate of Tianfat Tu temple completely unguarded. At that exact moment, the monk from the tree jumped down. That fat monk seemed to put something valuable in Ban Nguyen's mouth. I'll take that. For travel money. And so, the monk with the mole snuck into the room where they were keeping the corpse of monk Ban Nguyen. Inside, besides Ban Nguyen's body, there were many, many other monks' corpses. They were probably all forced to become Buddhas in the same way Ban Nguyen was. The monk bowed his head before his fallen brothers. Your grievance is with them, not me. I'm just here to steal a little something. If you all want revenge, don't come looking for me. Then, the monk went straight to Ban Nguyen, digging in his mouth for the thing the head monk had shoved in there. What he found was a Sarira relic, as big as a stone, Amitabha, a truly top-grade relic, but he didn't know why after the relic was removed from its mouth, the Buddha that was Ban Nguyen suddenly began to bleed from both eyes. This monk was a greedy man. After getting one relic from Ban Nguyen's mouth, he wondered if the others might also have relics like this. And just as he suspected, inside every single corpse's mouth was a massive sarira. I'm rich. It seems the heavens haven't abandoned me after all. But he was completely unaware that behind him, one of the Buddha statues was grinding its teeth, showing extreme anger at the monk's actions. The mole-faced monk was about to leave when he suddenly heard a rustle behind him. He turned back to see only an empty lotus pedestal. The Buddha was gone. The next thing he knew, with a sickening thud, the head of the mole-faced monk was sliced clean off by that living Buddha. From the reflection in the candlelight, you could see the creature lift the headless corpse of the monk and drink his blood. Early the next morning, the two guards who were on duty returned to find the room had been broken into. Stepping inside, they saw a headless corpse lying on the ground. They recognized it immediately. It was the body of the monk who loved to gamble. At the same time, the other Buddha statues were acting strangely. They were beginning to crack all over. The junior monk cursed under his breath. Damn it, if the head abbot finds out about this, we're dead men. The senior monk said, use the Buddha beads, place them on top of these Buddha's heads. After they placed them, the statue's decay immediately stopped, but their worries weren't over, because now, one of the Buddhas was missing. The monk glanced back at the mole-faced monk's corpse and said, no, we're not missing one. Not at all. Back with Truong An, he was now wandering aimlessly, holding an umbrella. Just then, he came across a monk dressed entirely in a white kasaya. The moment the monk saw Truong An, he immediately turned and fled. Truong An immediately grabbed his gear and followed the monk, chasing him to an abandoned temple in the woods. Stepping inside, Truong An called out, "Monk, you led me here. Why are you hiding?" A voice from the rain replied, "We've never met, Taoist master. Why would I hide from you?" "I'm not joking. May I have your name, master?" Truong An replied. "I am the Taoist Huyen Tu. Why are you standing in the rain? Come take shelter." "You jest, master. I am but a wandering soul. What need have I for shelter? So, what brings you to this desolate mountain?" Standing at the entrance, Truong An replied, "Oh, nothing special. Just hunting some demons." The monk asked, "Amitabha, do you believe that I am a demon? Your soul isn't, but if your corpse reanimates, it could become a plague upon this land." Hearing this, the monk pointed towards a large Buddha statue behind them. "Then see for yourself, master. In the dirt, by the statue's head, lies a long decayed skeleton." So this was the monk's physical body. "When I first died," he said, "I watched my own flesh rot away. Insects devoured it, and grass grew through my bones. Thus my life ended. I only return on rainy days to remember." Realizing the monk was a benevolent spirit with no ill intent, Truong An carefully lifted the skeleton. He brought the bones to the spirit. The young monk took his own remains and thanked Truong An. The monk then handed Truong An a strange, green gem. Could this be his sacred Buddhist relic? Truong An sat across from the spirit and pulled out his yellow-covered book. "Master, you've resided in these mountains for a century. Have you ever seen this monster before?" The monk put his hands together and replied, "Never." "So, you came to these desolate mountains just to slay this beast?" Truong An nodded. "That's right. Then continue on your path. You may yet find it. Slaying this evil would be a great service to my faith as well. But I advise you, do not go east. A dark energy has been gathering there, a palpable aura of malice. It is an omen of war and disaster. You are a brave hero, entering these mountains alone. Your skills must be great. But if you're caught in such a conflict, you'd be like a grain of sand against a tidal wave, annihilated in an instant. The rain has stopped. It is time for me to depart. Taoist master, I wish you a safe journey." Truong An pulled out the yellow book again. The closer he got to a demon, the clearer its image would become. "I've circled this entire mountain, and the image only gets clearer when I head east. Sorry, young monk. It's not that I'm ignoring your warning. I have no other choice. And so, Truong An continued his demon-slaying quest. Is the East really as dangerous as the monk claimed? I've been walking for days and haven't seen a soul. The moment he thought that, a spear flew out of nowhere, aimed right at him. He blocked it, only for 2 more to follow. But Truong An deflected them all with ease. Show yourselves. I already know where you're hiding. A few tribesmen emerged from the bushes. Easy there, master. It was all a misunderstanding. I'm Tun Trong. My brothers and I were hunting. We heard a noise and thought you were a wild animal. Truong An glanced at the broken spearheads. Hunters are this wealthy now? Are all your spears made of pure silver? Tun Trong replied, attacking you was our mistake. Look, the mountain paths are treacherous and wild. Why don't you rest at our camp for the night? Let us prepare you a meal as an apology. Truong An agreed immediately, thinking to himself, let's see what you guys are really up to. The tribesmen led Truong An to a surprisingly well-kept settlement. They didn't seem poor at all. The moment they arrived, a man behind him reached for his blade to attack Truong An, but Tun Trong quickly stopped him. We're here, let's go inside and rest. You must be hungry after such a long journey, right, master? Come with me, master. I'll have food brought to you immediately. With his keen sense of smell, Truong An caught the scent of cooking meat nearby. You're too kind, chief, preparing meat for me. Is that wonderful smell coming from over there? Truong An pointed directly at a kitchen hut. It's coming from in there, isn't it? It smells delicious. Tun Trong looked startled and quickly denied it. For an honored guest like yourself, we would normally prepare meat and wine. But as you saw, our hunt today was a failure. We came back with nothing. So naturally, there's no meat. Truong An sniffed the air again. Chief, you're not being honest with me. It smells a little strange, but it's definitely meat. Are you trying to hide it and keep it all for yourselves? Without another word, Truong An spun around and bolted towards the kitchen to check. Tun Trong scrambled right after him. Nervously, he ran to stop Truong An. Taoist, my apologies. It was petty of me. It's true we hunted a beast not long ago. Please, go rest first. I'll have my men bring some meat to you. Truong An shoved Tun Trong aside. Don't bother, I'll do it myself. The scene before him left Truong An a bit stunned. The beast Tun Trong mentioned. The meat in that pot was human flesh. Tun Trong's voice echoed from outside. I was going to let you live a few more hours, but since you're in such a hurry to die, don't blame me for being merciless. At Tun Trong's shout, all 500 of his men instantly appeared, swords and blades in hand, ready to cut Truong An down. We've never tasted the flesh of a Taoist before. Thin eyebrows, sparse teeth, black veins, red eyes. It was just as his old master had said. After eating human flesh, these men had mutated. I was going to carve you up for dinner, Taoist, but I also respect talent. We can spare you and even make you our second in command. What do you say? Truong An sighed. Join you so I can hunt people with you for food? Tun Trong let out a demonic laugh and said, Heh, what's so bad about eating people? The old are tough, the young are tender, women are delicious, men are firm. In times like these, if we don't kill people, where do we get meat? Without meat, where's the strength to work? His men were getting impatient. Boss, why waste words on this Taoist? Let me rip out his heart and liver to stew for our wine. Facing these vicious, heartless monsters, the anger inside Truong An began to boil. You're no different from man-eating demons. At their leader's command, the tribesmen formed ranks and surrounded Truong An. Oh, they even know battle formations? Could they be army deserters hiding out here? Truong An thought of a very simple way to break their so-called formation. He grabbed a few burning logs from the fire and hurled them at the men, instantly shattering their ranks. A big, bald brute charged first, swinging a massive axe with great power but poor accuracy. Truong An immediately exploited the opening, stabbing his sword straight into the man's thigh and crippling his leg. Even after being cut, the man kept cursing, "Damn you, rotten Taoist, I'll hack you into 100 pieces." Before he could finish, Truong An's sword sliced across his neck. Try that again in your next life. Witnessing Truong An's incredibly badass swordsmanship, Tun Trong realized they'd picked the wrong guy. But now, it was too late for regrets. Form up. Before his men could regroup, Truong An charged forward, cutting a bloody path. Where he went, death followed. After just a minute, only a trembling Tun Trong remained. You cold-blooded monsters, your crimes are unforgivable. Tun Trong shot back. Truong An, you call us cold-blooded? Didn't you just slaughter all of my brothers? Truong An scoffed. Killing you is a service to the people. Man-eating bastards like you are beyond forgiveness. The man still argued defiantly. Beyond forgiveness? What's so criminal about eating a little human flesh? Years ago, the butcher led his brothers to besiege Tai Chao for half a year. Food ran out both inside and outside the city, but the battle had to go on. What were we supposed to do? People in the city ate each other. The soldiers outside ate people from the city. Do you call that a good battle? We ate the people of Tai Chao until none were left. So, Taoist, if you want to kill all cannibals, then hurry up and kill me. Besides me, there are over 100,000 more like me. If you've got the guts, go kill them one by one. In these chaotic times, aren't the weak just food for the strong? Seeing that Tan Truong's twisted logic was beyond saving, Truong An could only send him to the underworld to repent before King Yama. I'm no great hero, but I can't stand by and watch injustice. Any cannibal I meet, I will kill. It won't be a wasted trip through these chaotic times. I'll deal with as many as I can. Truong An looked at the ravaged camp. Not a single tribesman was left alive. I should probably get going. Just then, Truong An heard cries for help coming from within a wall. There are survivors hidden here? It turned out there was a secret passage in the wall. Truong An pushed it open and went inside to check. He was shocked to find so many people inside. All of them were tied up, their faces pale and gaunt. They hadn't even spared the children. A man with one eye gouged out saw Truong An and pleaded, "Taoist, please save us. Save the children." Truong An quickly checked the people inside. Tragically, they were all already dead. Only the one-eyed man was still alive. He was frantically searching for his son. "Taoist, have you seen a boy, about 7 or 8, with a round face, a mole between the eyebrows?" Truong An instantly remembered. Wasn't that the kid the tribesman stewed in a pot? But he couldn't bring himself to tell the man the truth. "Merciful Taoist master, could you possibly help this humble servant with something? My name is Mao Fong Nien from Haha village at the foot of the mountain. Due to the recent wars, I brought my wife into the mountains to escape the chaos. Please, Taoist master, deliver a message to my village elders for me. Tell them this unfilial son has failed in his duty." With his final words, the man collapsed and died. Truong An sighed. "Rest easy. I will make sure your message is delivered." Leaving the house of sorrow behind, Truong An headed straight for Haha village, just as the man had told him. "Why is no one here?" Behind Truong An, an old man appeared, bowing respectfully. "Our honored guest has arrived. I am Lao Li, the village chief. I've been waiting for you for a long time, Taoist master." Truong An was confused. "Honored guest? You were waiting for me?" "Indeed, Taoist master. We've prepared a feast to welcome you. Please follow me." Truong An glanced down at Lao Li's feet and immediately noticed something was wrong. Under the bright sun, the man cast no shadow. Still, Truong An remained polite. "Please, Lao Li, lead the way." Inside the village, several banquet tables were already set up. Villagers were eating and drinking merrily, a heartwarming scene unfolding right before his eyes. "Our humble village is poor. This is all we could prepare. I hope it's to your liking, Taoist master." Truong An lifted the cup and took a sniff. This wasn't wine. It was plain water. Just then, the bright moonlight broke through, revealing the truth of everything before him. Every single person around him was headless. Instantly on guard, Truong An drew his sword. Lao Li reappeared, saying, "Taoist master, please don't misunderstand. We mean you no harm." Just then, the man Truong An met in the mountains also appeared. "Greetings, benefactor. Thank you for giving my wife and me a proper burial." Truong An sheathed his sword. "When did you get back?" The man was holding his young son in his arms. His wife stood beside him, smiling. "Thanks to you, benefactor, our family has been reunited." Then, the little boy ran up to Truong An and thanked him, just like his father did. And just like that, the family of 3 slowly faded away. Better to be a reunited ghost than a scattered human. Lao Li spoke up again. "How do you find this clear water, Taoist master?" Truong An took a sip and praised it. "Delicious, truly delicious." In times like these, the best thing for tea or medicine is fallen dew. It's the dew collected after the very first rays of dawn. These spirits risked being burned by the morning sun just to gather this for you. They went to a lot of trouble. Lao Li, if you have something to ask, just say it. If I can help, I won't refuse. Taoist master, you truly are remarkable. You knew we were all dead without us saying a word. We ask for nothing more, but because our souls are incomplete, we cannot reincarnate. We beg you, Taoist master, please retrieve our heads for us. Lao Li then led Truong An to the place where their heads had been taken. Truong An was shocked to see so many skulls. This is a jingguan, a pyramid of skulls, a tactic used by armies to terrorize their foes. but to build one from the skulls of unarmed villagers. What enemy were they trying to suppress here? Truong An asked Lao Li. I heard the imperial court sent troops to crush a rebellion. Was this the rebels' doing? Lao Li shook his head. No, this was the work of the imperial army. Before they even arrived, bandits had already stolen all our food. We thought that once the imperial army defeated the bandits, we'd finally have a better life. But who would have guessed that when the army arrived, they would demand provisions? We had nothing left to give them. But their commander said if we didn't provide food, our entire village would be branded as rebels. I begged him for 3 days. Just enough time for us to scrape something together. But before the 3 days were up, soldiers came and slaughtered everyone on sight. My poor grandson. He was only 3 years old. They beheaded him too. Lao Li grew more and more agitated as he spoke. He stared at the mountain of skulls, calling out for his grandson. But the pyramid's immense resentful energy violently threw him back. The force knocked his head clean off, returning him to his headless form. The other spirits rushed over, blowing their misty breath on him. And just like that, his head reformed. In these chaotic times, a person's life is worthless. Our Haha village met with a terrible disaster, but we don't seek revenge. As you can see, Taoist master, our heads are trapped here, preventing us from being properly buried. We are trapped in this place of sorrow, and all we want is to be set free. Filled with righteous anger, Truong An drew his sword. He declared to all the spirits of Haha village, everyone, rest easy. I, Truong An, swear I will do everything in my power to ensure you can all finally rest in peace.